14 men every day gone. 101 a week, 439 a month, and 5,267 a year. And right here in Doncaster, last year, 31 men took their own lives. 31 fathers, brothers, maybe, but certainly sons. Now, before I tell you my story, I want to ask you a few questions. When was the last time you looked at your dad and really saw him? Not as the provider or the protector, but the man beneath the armour and the things he's done and sacrificed just to keep you safe. What about your brother, your son, or your best friend? Have you ever stopped to wonder not just how they're doing, but whether they're coping? And if you're a man in this room, when was the last time you was really truthful with yourself? Not the bravado or the brave face, but the truth that finds you when the lights go out and your head hits the pillow. You see, we're told men are silent, but we know it's not silence. It's a scream turned inwards that only we can hear. Now, it's not another one of those messages where I say, men just need to talk more. We've been doing that for decades, and yet suicide is still the #1 killer for men under 50. Not war, not cancer, this strange kind of silence, the one that sounds like, I'm fine, when in truth, it's a lie. For me, the real crisis isn't what men aren't saying, it's what they're no longer doing. Seeking challenge, movement, focus, brotherhood, and mission. Without them, men just fall apart. You see, we don't just need safe spaces, we need strongholds. And if we're to redefine masculinity, it isn't about softening men, it's actually about strengthening them in the right ways. I know this because I lived it. I was the strong one, the provider, the builder, the protector, the guy who made things happen. I didn't read self-help books because I was the help. I didn't ask for support because, again, I was the support. But then lockdown hit. And in that time, I built an award-winning marketing agency and employed 21 people while those around us were struggling to survive. I adapted fast and flourished. But what came after? It was obvious something had shifted. Culturally, emotionally, the world had changed. Without realizing it, I had too. Not all at once, but bit by bit. One compromise here, one quiet betrayal of self there, until one day I looked in the mirror and I didn't recognize the man staring back at me. At that time, I let people I invested in and trusted steal parts of my business I'd sacrificed over 25 years to build. I let people I loved take parts of me I believed I'd never get back again. The consequence? My business gone, my marriage broken, my tribe silent, my self-trust shattered. At that point, I'd hit rock bottom, and not the poetic kind, the kind that drags you into suicidal ideation. In fact, I'd almost followed through with it twice. But there's a strange thing about rock bottom. It's quiet. And in that silence came a strange sense of truth. Not an epiphany or a lightning bolt, just painful, brutal, raw honesty. That the mask that I was wearing to protect myself was the very thing that was killing me. At that point, I searched desperately trying to find an answer to solve what was going off in my head. And I kept seeing the same phrase over and over again. It's okay to not be okay. Now at first, it felt like a lifeline, a break from the noise that was in my head. But it never gave me a map. It gave me permission to drown, but no instructions on how to swim. And it was at that point I decided to put the noise down and ask myself one simple question. And that was, what would my dad say? Now, Mum and Dad have been gone 15 years now, but I can still hear his voice in my head. And he'd say, son, Frank Sinatra said it best. That's life. Now put the kettle on. 15 years ago, I'd be in that kitchen making him a cup of tea, scratching my head thinking, what do I do with that? Simple, cynical advice. So I'd go back into the living room, and I'm like, so what do I do? He's like, you got two choices, son. Okay, sink or swim. Now how's work? And that'd be it. Conversation over. And I realized 15 years later, stood on this spot, it was right. Because if you're not risking in both life and in love, then have you ever really lived at all? Yes, when you fall flat on your face, it's gonna hurt, for sure. But that pain is not weakness. It's the cost of caring. The cost of ambition. It's the cost of falling in love. So if you do give life a try, and it does come crashing down past your ears, I want you to realize that you don't need more noise. You don't need more opinionated bias. You need a path. So I guess to doing some research, and in 2023, the suicide rates climbed again. The Office for National Statistics stated that over 5,500 people in England took their own lives, 3/4 of them men. But for me, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Below it, over 1 million men are walking around carrying suicidal thoughts daily, silently, and alone. I've discovered that when men talk about pain, their cortisol spikes. The psychiatric research proved it. The very thing we tell men to do, just talk, can actually increase their stress response. So for me, it's not necessarily cultural, it's the way we're wired. I'm beginning to paint a picture in my head. So I dug a little bit deeper, and I discovered over the last 30 years, sedentary behavior, lack of exercise, poor sleep, and increased stress levels has taken its toll. The British Medical Journal proved that testosterone levels have dipped, or the average testosterone levels have dipped by more than 20%. And that global research in the Human Reproduction Update have confirmed that sperm counts have halved. That's not random. For me, that's cause and effect. The science backs it up. This isn't just emotional. For me, it's biological too. The choices we make leave chemical footprints in our blood, therefore in our children's and in their children's. It's called epigenetics. Trauma is inherited, but so too is resilience. And every time a man chooses discipline over destruction, he rewrites the code. So at that point, I decided to make a decision. Not to be the man that I used to be, but to rise into the man I was always meant to become. I didn't need more talking. I didn't need a new personality. I needed a new pattern. And that's when I created the Lion-State framework. Rooted in facts, not feelings, given that I couldn't really trust them anymore. The Lion-State framework is built off of 4 principles. L, leadership. Not over others, over self. Own your mornings. Leadership starts before the world wakes up. I, integrity. No more silent betrayals. Do what you say you're going to do, especially to yourself. Journal your thoughts, actions, and goals. That way, the gap between your words and your actions can't hide. O, ownership. No outsourcing your outcomes. Your state is your responsibility. And N, nurture. Not stuffed, but structured. Movement, sleep, nutrition, they're the foundations for all of the principles I've just spoke about now. And a simple fact for you, over 90% of your feel-good hormones aren't built in your brain. They're actually built in your gut. These aren't slogans. For me, they're standards that I live by. The Lion State framework is built off of 6 key habits. And once I committed to that daily ritual, journal-led, disciplined and structured, my body, my mindset, my outcomes, they all shifted. I stand 2 months of being 50, feeling fitter, stronger, with more energy than I ever have done before. And my own numbers back it up. My metabolic age is 30. Proof that when you align with what you're built for, your body responds. Now, the Lion State framework is built off of 6 habits. 6 habits that I'm wanting you to take on, or 6 habits or acts of defiance against a world that doesn't stop spinning. Move your body, because strength isn't optional, it's survival. Own your mornings, because if you don't set your direction, someone else will. Sleep like it matters, because your future relies on the rest that you have tonight. Eat real food, because you can't build resilience on rubbish. Read a page a day, because your growth is your responsibility, nobody else's. And reflectively write your thoughts, actions, and goals, because if you don't lead your story, you will live someone else's. For me, these aren't difficult to follow. They're simple things that I think we can take on every single day. No hacks, no gurus, no secret formulas. And I'm proof that this is how we can make men flourish, biologically, emotionally, and generationally. I've got 2 sons, and I want them to lead with honor, not ego. I have 2 daughters, and I want them to know that true strength is not bravado, but a presence that anchors. And I want the one that I love to know without doubt that she is safe, secure, and supported. That's the legacy that I want to leave, not in name, but in nature. Because if we're to create stronger sons, earn deeper respect, and redefine masculinity, it starts here. The Lion State framework is not motivation. For me, it's preservation. Because we either become the last generation of strong men or the first generation of weakened ones. Fellas, you are not broken. You're just underexpressed. And your biology isn't your barrier. It's your blueprint. And that blueprint is built through these daily habits. These daily habits rewire you from the inside out. So if you remember nothing else, remember this. Move your body, own your mornings, sleep like it matters, eat real food, read, write, and repeat relentlessly. That's the code, that's the Lion State of mind, and that's the choice that I've made for myself. To have the courage to follow through and the energy to see it through. The only question left is, will you? Thank you.